Good morning, everyone. A very special welcome to our guests and our visitors. We're so happy that you're here. If you're here for the first time, we hope you feel at home among us at St. Benedict's. We're very happy to have you. A very, very special greeting to all of our mothers on this Mother's Day. Let's give our moms a big round of applause. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. I'm very blessed to have, I have two mothers now in my life, actually three. I have my lovely wife, who's a wonderful mother and a great educator and supporter of our children. I love the way she guides them, and I always tell her, she's the best mom. And then I have, obviously, my mom that God gave me still with us, and I have my mother-in-law, who's my second mom, so I feel like I'm surrounded with moms. And then I have a bunch of moms here at church who bring jerk chicken and food and try to stuff me all the time, so I thank all the mothers that are here. So blessed by all of you. You know, throughout the church, today is Good Shepherd Sunday. And it's kind of interesting because it's not a coincidence, you know. There's an old Chinese proverb. They say God could not be everywhere, so he made mothers. But there's something about the shepherd that speaks about the enduring presence of God, that God is always with us. That if we are the sheep of the flock, the shepherd is always with us. Now, almost everyone here knows the 23rd Psalm, if not by heart, almost by heart. Am I right? It's perhaps one of the most popular psalms. But I want to share with you a 21st century version of the 23rd Psalm. Listen to this. The Lord is my programmer. I shall not crash. He installed his software on the hard disk of my heart. All of his commands are user-friendly. His directory guides me to the right choices for his name's sake. Even though I scroll through the problems of life, I fear no bugs or viruses, for he is my backup. His password protects me. He prepares a menu before me in the presence of my enemies. His help is only a keystroke away. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and my file will be merged with his and saved forever. It's a techie 23rd Psalm, but it speaks a truth about how God is. And that's why I believe Jesus insisted so much on this image of the shepherd, the good shepherd, the shepherd of the sheep. If you think about that image, it's kind of removed from us today, isn't it? We live in the city. We don't live in an agricultural community. We don't live out in the country. We live here in the midst of the hustle and bustle and the sounds of cars and noises of the city. But you know, in the time of Jesus, it was very, very common to see the shepherd and to see the sheep around the shepherd, and to hear a peculiar sound that sheep make. It's been called by some the shepherd's tone. It's a kind of whistle. I remember the first time I actually saw this in action. I was in Israel, in the land of Jesus. And as I was looking out near a mountain, I saw how the shepherd walked along with his staff, big wooden stick, and how the sheep were all around him. And every once in a while, you hear the strange sound coming. And I remember telling our tour guide, "Can you tell me, sir, what is that?" He says, "That's the sound the shepherd makes." And when the sheep are getting scattered, he begins to whistle. And you'll notice that every time he whistles, they all come together when they hear the sound around the shepherd. Now, if one of them strays, eventually the shepherd has to go with his stick and bring it back to the fold. But this image speaks to us about the kind of God Jesus is. And that's why he insists so much in the gospel to, they hear my voice, I know them by name, and they know me and they follow me. And so as Christians, here we are. As 21st century Christians, here we are. And we have to ask ourselves the question, can we hear the sound of God's voice? Can we hear the sound of God's voice? Now, I'm asking you, be very careful with this, because if you take one of those long psychological exams, they'll ask you if you hear voices in your head, but that's for another reason. But I remember that when I went to seminary, they did this long psychological exam, right? Actually, they made me do it again when I came to the Episcopal Church, right? I think I took it twice. And then they ask you a bunch of questions, and then they keep asking you, you hear voices in your head. That's not what I'm talking about. Do you hear Jesus, the shepherd? Can you hear his voice in your heart? Can you spiritually listen with the ears of your soul and discern when God is speaking to you? And do we struggle with that? Because we should. Do we struggle with listening to God and asking those questions? God, what would you have me do in this situation, that situation? That's what I love about this psalm. He carries you through the valley, through the difficulties and the struggles, the ups and downs of life. The shepherd is with us. Are we listening? The great poet William Blake, in 1789, wrote a series of poems published in the Songs of Innocence. It's a collection of 19 poems, and one of them is called The Shepherd. I want to share it with you. How sweet is the shepherd's sweet lot. From the morn to the evening he strays. He shall follow his sheep all the day, and his tongue shall be filled with praise. For he hears the lamb's innocent call, and he hears the ewes' tender reply. For he is watchful while they are in peace, for they know when their shepherd is nigh. It's interesting that we think of the shepherd as being followed by the sheep, right? And here, William Blake twists it around. He says, no, the shepherd follows us. He's always watchful of us. Think about it. The shepherd, the good shepherd, is the one who's always constantly with us. And when we lose our way, the shepherd is there to bring us back. That beautiful image in Scripture, right? In Luke 15, there were 99 sheep all going the right way, yet the shepherd left for the one who got lost. Left the 99 and went to look for the one who strayed to bring it back. That's who Jesus is. What a powerful image of the love of God. The shepherd. You all will remember the very famous actor, Mr. Richard Burton. He grew up in a Catholic church, and he went back to his parish after a long, long career and went to give a special presentation to the parishioners. And there, among them, was an old retired priest who had been Mr. Burton's professor and teacher in Sunday school. And when he finished the little Q&A session, he asked the parishioners, what would you have me say? What would you have me do? And none of them said a word. They were just kind of quiet and stunned. And the old priest got up and said, "Richard, will you please recite the 23rd Psalm that I taught you when you were in 2nd grade?" And Richard Burton said, "Of course, Father." And he started reciting the 23rd Psalm. Of course, imagine Richard Burton, his voice, presentation, finesse. It was impressive. At the end of the 23rd Psalm, recited by Richard Burton, everybody stood up and applauded, and quickly they sat back down. And then Mr. Burton said, "Father, can you do me a favor? Now that I've done it, will you please recite it for us?" And the old priest hesitated. He said, "How can I do it after that?" But he did. He had a feeble voice. Sometimes lost his way through it. Sometimes it was difficult to get the words out. But there wasn't a dry eye in the congregation when the priest finished his version of the 23rd Psalm. And then Mr. Burton said to everyone, "Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I read the 23rd Psalm because I remember the words. But this gentleman moved your hearts because he knows the shepherd." My friends, we must listen to the voice of Jesus with our hearts, for he is the true shepherd of the sheep. Our spiritual homework is each and every day, wherever we find ourselves, wherever we are in life, in the good times and bad times of life, we are called to open the ears of our souls. Open the ears of our souls to listen to the shepherd and listen with our hearts. Today we have a missionary with us, a lay missionary, all the way from Madagascar. She went from Hollywood to Madagascar, and now she's here today in Plantation. So I ask you to please welcome Jackie, who's going to share with us some of her experience with the women of Madagascar. Deacon?
Sister, Miss Jackie Lowe.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Father. Yes, my name is Jackie Lowe, and I'm a parishioner at St. James in Hollywood. And I first heard Patsy McGregor speak in 2007 at the Diocesan Convention. And at that time, God spoke to my heart and said, "Jackie, come to Madagascar and work with Bishop Todd and Patsy McGregor, who send their greetings to you." And I said yes. And I went on 3 short-term missions. And then I retired from teaching in high school, and I went to Madagascar and spent 9 months there last year, working with the women and the children. The people in Madagascar have nothing. They live in huts with dirt floors, wood used to build the huts, and maybe aluminum for the roofs. They're one room, no bathroom, no kitchen, no running water, maybe electricity if they're fortunate. If they live in a town, they have a faucet amongst their houses where they take large yellow containers to collect the water. If they live out in the country, they go to the rivers. If the river is dry, they dig for water. Water is more precious than gold in countries like Madagascar. I work with the women at the Women's Center. I have a room there with all the basic Western amenities, electricity and water. And the women come Monday through Friday to work on projects like making the paper beads that you see that we have in the narthex and we bring here to sell. They also go to the hotels in Madagascar, the town we live, Tulia, to sell to the tourists. There is tourist industry there. We live in a large town in the southwest corner of Madagascar, and it is desert. I was in Madagascar for 10 months and it rained for 4 days. You miss the green when you live in the desert. The women not only made beads, they made Days for Girls sanitary napkin kits. They have no money, so they cannot afford Western products during their menstrual cycle. So they miss school and they miss work. The Days for Girl project was started by an American woman, and the women at the center in Tulia make the kits. We cannot sell them to most of the women in Madagascar because they cannot afford them. They cost about $10. So we raise money here in the US, and then we donate them to the women after we've given a presentation. We usually give them away by raffles. When the women receive them, it's like you've given them a new car or a brand new house. We're not only working with the women, we're working with the children. We're starting a child sponsorship program to educate more children so they can be the adults of the future to raise the country out of poverty. I also want to purchase a new oven for the Women's Center so they can learn to bake and make products to sell to raise money. They have nothing, but they're happy in the love of Jesus Christ. Please help those of us who are willing to go into the countries to work with the people with your prayers and your financial help. Thank you, and thank you, Father. Thank you, Dad. Thank you.